Bava Kamma Daf Mem Vez discusses the pasuk of Bal Hashar Naki, which is said in context of a shar killing a person and paying a kafir. And Gemara is going to bring several brises that discuss what we learn from the pasuk Bal Hashar Naki. It seems to be extra words, and the Gemara will discuss why those limudim are needed. That we could not have learned that from other places. So let's begin. We begin with that first brisa. Brisa quotes the pasuk Bal Hashar Naki. It's talking about in context ki gachar isha shar es ish oy es isha umeis sakli sakal shar v'lei achal psari Bal Hashar Naki. When an ox gores a man or a woman and kills him, you stone the shar, you don't eat its flesh, and the owner of the shar is Naki, Bal Hashar Naki. So what does that mean? We've already seen several explanations of this. The Brisa now quotes Rabbi Yosef Haglili, who says that it means that the owner of the shar is clean of responsibility for the unborn children being carried by the woman. So this is to say that he doesn't have to pay for the fetuses. So on that, Rabbi Akiva asks, we already have a pasuk that seems to imply that we have the pasuk of ki yinatzu anashim minagfu ishahar, when a man accidentally strikes a woman and causes her to lose the pregnancy that he has over there. If she didn't die, he has to pay the family for the fetuses that he caused to be miscarried, but that's only, it says specifically, ki yinatzu anoshim, when it's a man who strikes her. If it would be an ox, then he would be putter. So we already know that there is no obligation to pay for the unborn on the owner of an ox. So why does the Torah have to say a pasuk of Bal Hashar Naki? So the Torah wants to give several answers as to why we would need two sources here. Why do we need Bal Hashar Naki? What does it add to this? So the first answer is Rav Ula Breder Rav Idi, who says that I would have thought that you need to differentiate between the tam and the mood. I would think when the pasuk is talking about a man and it says that the man is chayav and the implication is but a shar is not, that would be a shar who's most similar to a man, which is a mood. Just like a man is a mood, a shar is a mood, and therefore the Torah is only telling me a p'tor in that pasuk on a shar hamud. However, I would have thought that a shar tam is chayav. Therefore, Bal Hashar Naki is to tell me that a tam is pater also. So one pasuk is for mood, and the other pasuk is for tam, because I would have thought that the tam is chayav and the mood is pater. So then Rava asks, using an expression yitziva bar v'gir b'shmei, how could the locals be at the bottom and the visitors are at the top, all the way up in the heavens? Meaning, how could a tam be chayev but a mood is pater? If the tam is chayev, how would the mood get a patur? He becomes a mood, so therefore his chayev to pay for this comes off. That he finds questionable. So therefore, Rava says a different shot. He says that you may think similar structure when it says that a man is chayev and not an ox. It's talking about a man who is similar to an ox who is similar to a man that they're both muadin. And then here's the difference. I would have said if a muad is chayev, if a muad is pater, kal v'chomer, a tam is pater, and therefore I would have said amen that both the muad and the tam are pater, and therefore the Torah then comes along and tells me the pasuk of Bal Hashar Naki that it's only the tam that's pater, but the muad is really chayev. So this is coming to tell me the patur of the tam, which would have been extra, and therefore to imply that the muad is taka chayev. So Abai asks on that, so then if that's true, if that lumdis works concerning paying for the vladais, the Frida says you should say the same thing as far as whether a owner of an ox needs to pay vleishes. If an ox causes embarrassment to someone, does he have to pay for that? We have a similar structure there. It's from the psukim discussing that two men were fighting and one of them, his wife, went and caused embarrassment to the other one in her method of interference. So that's the source for paying the baishas. And the drasha that we have there is that it's only anoshim and that it's not shvarim, it's not ox, and the ox doesn't have to pay for baishas, but we should say the same structure. It's only a shar that is similar to an ish that doesn't have to pay for baishas, and that would mean a muad. Kal v'chomer, a tam doesn't have to pay. If a muad doesn't have to pay, kal v'chomer, a tam does not have to make. And therefore, when it says afterwards Bal Hashar Naki, it's coming to teach me that you do have to pay. The tam does not, but the muad is chayiv. Now, you may want to say that that's really is true, that is the halacha, but if that's true, so basically in the Mishnah, when he said that for a shar you don't have to pay for the vadas, you don't have to pay for the fetuses, it should have said you also don't have to pay for the Boishes as well as the fetus, and it's all learned out of Bal Hasharnaki because we're putting it on the same pasuk. Why would he leave that out? So therefore, the Gemara goes for a new pshat. The Gemara quotes Abaye and Rava, who together say a new pshat, and that is we read it as follows: by a man, he's only pater from paying for the vados if he has a greater punishment coming to him because he caused the death of the woman, and because of coming b'ramine is why he's pater on the vados. So I think, though, that the implication is that's only true by Anoshim, but by Shvarim, by oxen, even if there is an oxen, even if the ox kills the woman, he would still have to pay, he would still be chayiv for the vadas. Meaning that would be what the diak is. Only Anoshim do you have the concept of kamle b'ramine to say that if he kills the woman, he's not chayiv for the children, but for a shar, he'd be chayiv for both of them. That's what I would have said if I would only have that pasuk. And therefore, I need Baal Sharnaki to tell me that you really are pater, the owner of the shar is pater for these things. Now, on that, Rav Adabar Ava Asakasha, which is in accordance with his sheet and how he understands the pasuk, so he learns in Maseches Sanhedrin that if the man had intended to kill someone else and accidentally killed the woman, then he will be pater from Misa. He learns that if it's b'shagig, even if he intended to kill, he's pater from the Misa, and therefore he's chayev to pay the money, even if it was intent to that extent. Therefore, the Torah, when it says the psukim of Imleya Asain, is talking about if there was no Asain in the other person, and the one that he was intending to kill. But as far as the woman, it doesn't matter if she had an Asain or not, whether she was killed or she survived, still he would be chayev to pay. If that would be true, because he holds that by a shaygeg, you're pater even if he killed her, so therefore she would have to pay, he would need to pay. So it would turn out that as far as how we would learn shvarim, they would be excluded whether there was a death or there was no death. Either way, since by the man we're talking about there is a death or there's no death, and then the diak we make from that is a man and not a shar will be excluded either way. Therefore, you can't tell me that the pasuk of Baal Shar Naki is to exclude that. And we're back to the question. So therefore, Rav Ada Bar Ava slightly adjusts the pshat. Is we're not talking about whether he was killed or not killed. It's not about whether the one was killed or not. Either way, the p'tur would be there. The question is, what was the kavana? If the person, what the pasuk is referring to, was mechavein to kill the woman, then he's chayiv misa and he's patur from having to pay for the v'ladais. And that is the case where the exclusion is that the shar would not have that. And the shar, we would say, would be chayiv even if he's mechavein to kill the woman. And that's why you need Baal Shar for that case, where he intentionally intends to kill the woman. And there, a man would be patur, shar would be chayiv, and you need Baal Shar Naki to tell me that the shar is patur as well. So the Gemara says that when Rav Chagi came from the south, he brought a brisa with him, which spells out exactly like Rav Ada Bar Ava. Okay, the Gemara now brings another brisa which discusses Rabbi Kiva's own personal pshat in Baal Shar Naki. He says this is to teach that the owner of the shar doesn't have to pay for the value of an eved if he kills an eved. So Gemara asks that the same chashav Rabbi Kiva asked on Rabbi Elazar, who had said that Baal Shar Naki is to say that there's no payment of chatzi kaifer on a tam, because the tam only pays migufay, and the gufa here doesn't have any value because it's getting skila. Same kasha applies on Rabbi Kiva. How do you think that he has to pay for an eved if the shar is chayiv skila and there is no migufay value? So what would there be a havamina that you need to pay anything? There's nothing from which to pay. So the Gemara answers, you could have asked the kasha on Rabbi Kiva, but Rabbi Kiva would have answered that. So Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak says we're referring to a situation where he never actually got the skila. Instead, the owner or someone went and shechted him a kosher shechita first, and therefore he's not aser bahana. So you would think that therefore he needs to pay for the eved. Kamash malan, that there's a plur doesn't have to pay for the eved. So Gemara asks, why then did he ask a kasha on Rabbi Eliezer? If he knew that answer works for Rabbi Eliezer as well as it works for him. So the Gemara says, yes, he understood and he knew that this answer was, but he thought maybe Rabbi Eliezer has a different answer, and he wanted to hear if maybe he has a better answer than the answer that Rabbi Kiva himself has, and that answer would work for him as well. So the Gemara asks, so why indeed did Rabbi Eliezer not say this answer? Why did he say a different answer over there? He said that referring to a situation where the shar intended to kill another shar, and he accidentally killed a person. And that's where he doesn't get skila. And that's where there is a value to the guf, and you can use it to pay chatzi kaifer, if not for the fact that the pasuk told me Bal Hashar Naki. So why did he not say, talking about a situation where the ox got shachted and he didn't get skila, and therefore there is a value to it? So the Gemara answers that Rabbi Eliezer didn't want to say that answer because he didn't hold of it. He held that there would be an Isser Hana even if you went and shachted him. Once the Beis Din paskin that he's chayav skila, doesn't matter what happens to him afterwards. There still would be no ability to pay migufa here. So the Gemara says, then what's Pshat Rabbi Kiva? That's a good kasha. How does Rabbi Kiva use this as a situation where there is a value migufay? So the Gemara therefore changes its entire explanation of what Rabbi Kiva means. The Gemara says that Rav Asi said, I heard from a great man who is Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. The pshat here is as follows. Rabbi Kiva holds elsewhere that when a tam attacks a person, he's not a tam. There's no din of tam in when a shar attacks a person. It's nezek shalom min aliyah right away. And therefore here where he attacked an eved, so that's a person. It's the din of attacking a person, and it's nezek shalom min aliyah right away. And therefore you would think that he has to pay for the eved, kamashman, that there is a ptur. And being chayiv skila doesn't help you because you pay min aliyah. So Mara asked, but Rabbi Kiva was chayzer from that. You have a brisa that says that Rabbi Kiva was tavrei ligzize. He pulled his punch on the subject. He said that even though shartam that kills a person pays nezek shalom and not chatzi nezek, it's just migufay, it's not min aliyah. So therefore we're back to the kasha. If it's just migufay, how then would you say that a shar which is chayav skila and asa b'hana would be able to pay that? You don't need a pasuk to tell me because there's no value there. The Gemara just quotes Rabbi Kiva's limud. It says Kemishpat hazeh yasalai, just like the mishpat which we discussed earlier, that of migufay. Here you're also gonna pay only migufay. The Gemara answers, Rav answers, no. I would have thought that an eved has a special chumrah that you would pay min aliyah, even though normally you would pay migufay for an attack on a human. And the reason is because in eved you pay 30 shekel no matter what the damage was, even if the damage was only 1 shekel. For an eved is gzeres hakasav that a muad pays 30 shekel. And therefore, since you have that chumrah, I would think that there is a chumrah also on the time that he should pay min aliyah. Since he has this chumrah, maybe he has other chumrahs. If he pays min aliyah, he should be able to pay the payment of an eved, even though he is a tam. That Kamash Malan, Rabbi Kiva, the Torah says Bal Hashar Naki, that you don't have to pay that. And the Gemara now says there's a brisa that supports Rava's explanation. The brisa goes to Rabbi Kiva, who gives a lengthy drasha here. Rabbi Kiva says it says Bal Hashar Naki. That means that he's naki from having to pay the eved, doesn't have to pay for the eved. On that, the brisa asks that the din shouldn't be that way. We should reason from a comparison between an attack on a ben chayrin and an attack on an eved. And if a shar attacks a ben chayrin, there's a difference between a tam and a muad. So too, if a shar attacks an eved, there should be a difference between a tam and a muad. And the muad has to pay kaifer shalem, or has to pay shleishim for the eved, shleishim shekel shalem. So the tam should have to pay less than that. Maybe half, maybe none. Now, that's argument number one. Argument number two is the ben chayrin has to pay the full value, and yet there's a difference between a tam and a muad. So an eved who pays only 30, it could be way less than the full value. Certainly there should be a difference between a tam and a muad, and you should pay less for the muad. So therefore the muad, the tam should come out not having to pay shleishim shel eved. The Brisa is asking, why then do I need the pasuk of Bal Hashar Naki? On that, the Brisa answers, there is a chumrah in eved more than ben chayrin. There's a ben chayrin, if he's worth only 1 salah, pays only 1 salah. But an eved is, even if he's worth only 1 salah, you pay all the way up to 30 salah. And therefore, you may think that you should be chayiv just as much, at least, as the ben chayrin for the full amount. And the Kamashman Bal Hashar Naki, that he's naki from having to pay the Demei Eved if he is a tam. The Gemara now quotes another brisa, also in Rabbi Kiva, but this introduces the topic of inheriting Od Nezikin and Od Kaifer. The brisa says, when the Torah says Vehemis Ish a Isha, and specifically says a man or a woman, Rabbi Kiva says, what is this coming to teach me? That one is chayiv for the hezek for the attack on a man and a woman the same. You don't need to say that. With this pasuk, we have a different pasuk that says ki yigach shar es ish ay es isha. So why does it say both here? So Rabbi Akiva answers to make a hekesh, make a connection between a man and a woman. Just like a man, the damages that you owe him go to his inheritors. If he's not around to collect, it goes to his inheritors. A woman also, if she's owed hezek, that hezek money goes to her inheritors, as opposed to her husband. Her husband will not get the money that's owed to her from the zikin. It's a chiddush. So that the Gemara asks, Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold that a husband inherits his wife. It's not true. Rabbi Akiva definitely holds that a husband inherits his wife. The Gemara quotes Brisa on the pasuk saying that a man is inherited by his yarshim. So it says she'eri karv elav mishpach leviyarash isa. The simple pshat there is that she inherits him, but the Gemara learns v'yarash isa, not that he inherits it, but that she is inherited by him, that a man inherits his wife's property after she dies. So Gemara asks, therefore, if she died, then the kaifer that's owed to her, or the hezek that's owed to her, should be paid to her husband. Why do we say it goes to her yarshim? According to Rabbi Akiva, at least. So Rish Lakish answers that this is different because it's kaifer. Kaifer is never paid to a living person for his own collectibles. Kaifer is never paid until after the death of the person. By definition, it's a payment for a death. And therefore, it's always paid after the death. And therefore, at the time of the death, at the time the inheritance takes place, it's never an owned possession. It's always a collectible. And we have a rule, husbands don't inherit collectibles. They only inherit already owned position. And the Gemara asks, how do you know that it's only chal? The obligation only is created after the death. Maybe it's created moments before the death when it's clear that the death is about to happen. Someone says, no, that's not true, because the Torah links the skila of the shar to the kaifer you pay for his activities. And about that it says, Vehemis isha hashar yisachel, only if the victim actually dies is there a skila. And it says, V'gam ba'av yumasam kaifer yushas alav. And only connecting with that same halacha is only after the death of the nizik is there kaifer.